Hey guys, welcome to the show this week. Just wanted to start a little bit differently. I want to dedicate today's show to Rhonda Ward, who was my mother-in-law, and we just lost her to COVID-19 this last week. She was battling cancer, so she definitely was at high risk, but she loved college football and she loved talking sports with me, and I just wanted to open the show up and just say stay safe out there and make sure you wash your hands, social distance, wear a mask when you can, and let's get into the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to In the Red Zone. Shaun Brown, Michael Johnston here. It's week 15 of college football picks. I mean, we're at the end of the season essentially.
Yeah.
Into December, we're into the holiday season. Typically by this point, we've played college conference championship games,
Yeah.
and we're looking forward to bowl games.
We're supposed to be getting ready for Army Navy this week.
Yeah.
I mean, this is that week, and just crazy to think.
We still have this week. We have next week, which would be conference 19th is, I guess, conference championships.
Yeah, we've got 2 weeks left and then after that, conference championship games.
Yes.
And then we find out what happens with bowl season.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But let's talk briefly about week 14 because I lost track. I was 9-12. I mean, it was a crazy.
You were 9-11-1 because we had a game.
We had a push game. Yeah. But it was just bad. I mean, games like Missouri and Arkansas. Missouri's a 3-point favorite. We take Missouri, they win by 2.
Yeah.
It was just odd. You had Marshall losing to Rice. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, then you had, we thought the game of the week was going to be Liberty and Coastal Carolina.
Gets canceled.
And then after we shot last week's show, it gets canceled, and here comes BYU.
Yeah.
And then, for me personally, I mean, for both of us, it was a hectic, crazy week.
Yeah.
I spent all day Saturday shooting car commercials for a used car dealership.
Yeah.
I saw one half of one game, and that was the BYU Coastal Carolina game. I didn't really get to watch anything else. I had to go back and just watch some highlights. And, so just a busy, crazy week for all of us, and and it continues. So this week, briefly, I'll just tell them, no graphics in the monitor. I didn't have time. It's just been a
rough week for both of us. If you saw the intro, lost my mother-in-law this last week, and so it's just been tough. But been around family a lot, and that's helped. And I was able to peek in on a couple of games on Saturday. We had our viewing in the morning, but then was able to kind of peek in on some games. And I can honestly say she would have wanted me to do that.
Yeah.
Sure. I heard her phone blowing up all the time with sports notifications, and but anyway, we just wasn't a great Saturday to be able to sit down, and watch as much as we wanted to. But that BYU Coastal Carolina ending,
that was a great game.
Was just crazy.
That reminded me of, remember when the Titans played the Rams in the Super Bowl? Might have been 99 or 2000.
Nope.
Okay. Well, it was a great ending because the Titans had the ball, they go down, and they're 1 or 2 yards short of the end zone. Rams win the Super Bowl.
Man.
And I think Kurt Warner was a quarterback. It's been a long time ago, but the ending felt the same. It just felt the same, and so it was very.
They needed a miracle, and a cool play there would have been. Like what happened in the Oklahoma State Central Michigan game from a couple years ago, the play that shouldn't have happened, and Hail Mary to a lateral. I mean those don't happen. There's a reason why they get shown so much during the week that they happen, and BYU just comes up short, and I mean inches short.
Yeah.
So
as far as our teams go, Ohio State took care of Michigan State. They did play the game. I didn't think they would. They did. And now we're on to the game this week, the big game. Looking like it'll get played, hopefully. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Oklahoma does not cover against Baylor.
Yeah,
that was a struggle.
I should have known because no team – Baylor has lost a lot this year, but no team had beat them by more than 10 points. Mm-hmm. They've been in games. Their defense is really, really good. Their offense is horrible. So where they can hold teams and keep it a low-scoring game, Oklahoma just struggled. I mean, Baylor's linebackers just were flying all over the place, couldn't get the run game going, and then that just caused the passing game just not to be there because Oklahoma runs to open up the pass, and it just wasn't there. I mean, when you don't have to worry about linebackers dropping into coverage, you think that your wide receivers are going to get separation, and they just had a tough time. I mean, they were out. Austin Stogner was out. Trajan Bridges still is, but he hasn't played all year. There's reports that he might be. I saw something that said that NCAA said 10 games for whatever it was. Apparently wasn't the same as the other two. It was, but it wasn't. Maybe he's the one that supplied or something. But anyway, he should be back for conference championship game, which they sealed it with a win. Hey, I'm glad with the win. I'm just happy with the win.
They get a chance for redemption against Iowa State.
Right.
Congratulations to them.
You get a big win this week and then get a win against Iowa State, and then you kind of see where the cards are dealt as far as the other programs. It seems like the Big Ten is trying everything they can to get Ohio State into the conference championship game. So we'll see, what happens if that's enough for the playoff committee, and then we got to see, what they're going to do with Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina if they're going to inch them up a little bit more.
Yeah, what I anticipate happening though is. They'll get left out, of course, the playoffs, but they end up playing each other in one of the New Year's Six bowl games.
Well, and two,
it's a possibility.
What happens, and if this isn't how it matches up, what happens if Clemson and Notre Dame get matched up? I don't know how they're dealing with I don't know if they're doing divisions. Last time I looked at their standings, it wasn't separated into divisions, so I don't know if they're just doing two best teams.
So what they ended up doing was they canceled Clemson and Notre Dame's last game. The ACC did. They canceled it so that they would both be evaluated on 9 games. They're both in. They're both in the conference championship game.
Okay. I was going to say, so they're not. So if Clemson beats Notre Dame, they're both in the college football playoff.
Which then we have a possibility of Clemson and Notre Dame playing for a third time in the same season. I don't like that.
I don't think they would match them up. I mean,
but let's say they don't match up in the semifinal and they both win, then they play for a national championship.
I don't think
it might not happen. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
I don't
like the fact that in football a team's going to play each other possibly for a third time.
I don't know that one of those teams would beat Alabama at this point, though. Alabama's just on a different.
I don't think they would either. I'm just saying it's a possibility. If they both made the playoffs.
It's definitely interesting. It's getting very, very interesting. All the different scenarios that can play out from now until then. I mean, Georgia's going to drop. Florida's going to drop. It's just very interesting to see.
Well, that's another thing is Clemson goes and beats Notre Dame, and then Florida beats Alabama. I mean, then what happens? Because now the committee would have to decide between Florida, Alabama, and Ohio State.
Well, Florida would go play.
Because if Florida beats Alabama in the SEC championship, they have to be in. But does that mean Alabama drops out when they lose to Florida? I don't know. That's the committee's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
They do not want Florida beating Alabama. Okay, 2 other games we'll mention real quick, and then we'll get into the picks, so we're not taking up too much time. But Oklahoma State dropping to TCU. I didn't see that happening. That was a shocker when I saw that score.
Yeah, that was one that I was able to kind of peek in on. That was just. I mean, I said it last week. You can't give Gary Patterson's teams just momentum.
Yeah.
They just. I don't know. That was really, really mind-boggling on that.
And then the last one I want to mention, because it was my lock and it hit and I was confident, Indiana beats Wisconsin 14-6. I picked them. I said it was my lock. I couldn't believe Indiana was a 10-point dog in that.
Yeah.
And everyone, of course, said in comments, everyone's like, yeah, but Penix Jr.'s out. He's out. He's out. Guys, Jack Tuttle's for real. I mean, and I never swayed on that pick or that lock because I knew Indiana was going to win that game because they don't really miss a step with Jack Tuttle. So he's the real deal too. So
had we already known about Penix Jr. at that point?
We didn't know at the time of the pick.
Yeah.
I knew right after, like after I'd posted the video, and and it's tough for him because I think that's 3 years in a row he's been hurt.
Yeah.
And
Which apparently in that game, I saw somebody that said, I didn't even know he got hurt. Like, I don't know. I'll have to go back and see if it's in there. But
Indiana's the real deal. Penix Jr. or no Penix Jr. They're the real deal this year. I mean, okay, you ready to get into week 15?
As ready as I'm going to be.
All right, so I think we're at 19 games to pick coming up here. All right, let's get into these. Charlotte against Marshall. Marshall, a 19.5-point favorite, coming off the 20-0 loss to Rice.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to overreact to that. All up until then, they beat Middle Tennessee State 42-14. They beat UMass 51-10. They beat Florida Atlantic 20-9, and then Louisiana Tech 35-17, and then Charlotte. Charlotte's 2-4 with losses to Western Kentucky and Duke, and also to Florida Atlantic. Sorry. I'm going to pick Marshall. I think they bounce back this week.
If they play the game.
Yeah.
They're playing at home, but they're the one, too, that's getting games. They've had quite a few games canceled or postponed. So.
Yeah.
But if they play, I'm with you. I got Marshall covering 19.
I think they bounce back this week.
Georgia is 13-point favorite at Missouri. Missouri didn't cover at home against Arkansas, but they scored a ton of points.
Mm-hmm.
I still like Missouri at home. I really think that Missouri even upsets Georgia in this one. I know you won't agree with me on that one, but I definitely think Missouri covers the points this week. They're strong at home, and Georgia's just kind of like, I know they have JT Daniels, and he's got more, he's getting more games under his belt to get better. But Georgia's just they're off this year. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not the same as they've been in the past few years. So I like Missouri to at least keep it within 13, but I really think Missouri might pull an upset here.
Yeah, I've got Georgia winning, but I don't think they cover the 13 points. I think you could be looking at like a 10-point game. Missouri's 4-1 now at home against the spread, and they've actually surprised under a first-year head coach in Eli Drinkwitz. And JT Daniels has only thrown one interception in his 2 starts. So looking pretty good, looking pretty poised. But we'll see what Missouri's pass defense can do, which ranks 3rd in the SEC. So I think they're going to give them a test, and I think you could see, a 9 to 10 point game.
Okay, sounds good. Alabama's a 31-point favorite at Arkansas. I don't know about this one. I don't like spreads in the 30s, you know that. But I picked LSU last week and was wrong, and Alabama just took care of business. I think Arkansas is a better team than LSU. But they gave up 50 to Missouri, so what are they going to give up to Alabama?
Yeah.
I think I need to stick with Alabama this week reluctantly. I don't know if Arkansas can keep it within 31.
Yeah, man, I don't know on this one too.
The question would be, is Alabama sit people? Do they start resting people?
Yeah, I mean, they're already in the SEC championship game.
But they can't afford to lose, though. That's another thing.
Well, here's the thing. They can't afford to lose, but they also don't need to go out and win by 30 points.
Right.
They could win by 21 points and still be number 1 in the CFP. I wholeheartedly agree to that. And the Crimson Tide is 7-2 against the spread this season. And they've covered in 5 straight games. Alabama's also won the past 3 games by an average of 32.3 points per game. But this is a different Arkansas team. Yeah. I mean, they're getting better. Arkansas did lose to Georgia by 27 and Florida by 28. The question is, will Alabama kind of hold up,
Yeah.
and kind of, like you said, rest players. If they get a commanding lead, are they just going to kind of go into coast mode? And
it could be a deal where it's like, take Najee Harris.
Yeah.
He goes out there and starts. He might run for a touchdown or two, and then maybe it's the backup comes in, and maybe they alternate to the point where he's getting half the touches he gets in a normal game. I mean, that could happen as well.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me
in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see like a 44-14 game. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take Arkansas. I don't know. 31's just a lot. If it were 28, maybe I would go with Alabama, but I don't know. 31 just seems like a lot.
I'll stick with Alabama just because I don't want to change my pick. But okay, Oklahoma is a 12.5-point favorite against West Virginia. West Virginia just
took a big old runny dump.
Yeah, I took West Virginia last week. I just thought they could make a game of it, and they couldn't. Yeah. And so if you can't make a game of it against Iowa State, I don't think they will against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma's game with Baylor, they'll rebound from that and probably come out firing this week. So I think Oklahoma covers that.
Yeah, it was Iowa State. They don't have a game before another game before the Big 12 championship, so they needed to just put it all out there. Mm-hmm. This game has been crazy in the past, but I don't see that. This is the last tune-up game for Oklahoma before the Big 12 championship game, and West Virginia is 2-2 against the spread as an underdog. So I feel pretty confident in Oklahoma here. I mean, winning by 14 to Baylor, I think they could win by 21, mm-hmm. Maybe 24 points to West Virginia. I don't know that West Virginia really has anything to play for at this point. Get some of your younger guys in there. It's a free year. Mm-hmm. But does Oklahoma sit some guys? They don't want to fully open their playbook a week before having to go play Iowa State again.
I think they want to be healthy for Iowa State, which could be.
But you also want to think, could a two-loss team get into the playoffs? I mean, if we go out here and win big, I know I was about to say Kyler Murray. I know Spencer Rattler's going to want to get out there and redeem himself from last week, playing probably his worst game since Iowa State. I mean, really, that was probably his worst game since Iowa State, and he really didn't play that bad. He did what he needed to do, but, I don't know, see this one as 3-touchdown win.
Okay. Illinois is at Northwestern. Northwestern, a 13.5-point favorite. Northwestern, they just got to keep their foot on the throttle right into the Big Ten championship game. I think they continue to do that. I don't know if Illinois is going to be able to move the ball very well against that Northwestern defense. And Illinois' defense is definitely not that great.
Yeah.
Northwestern should be able to score some points against that defense. So I will take Northwestern covering 13.5.
Yeah, Illinois is 3-2 against the spread as an underdog this season, and just missed covering last week against Iowa. Northwestern has won the past 5 meetings by an average of 18.6 points per game. And if Northwestern can get some momentum into the Big Ten championship game, then I think they take that. I think that Northwestern covers in this one.
All right, Michigan is at Ohio State. Ohio State is a 30-point favorite. Listen, Ohio State wants in the playoffs, and they hate that team up north. And they are going to just put their foot on their neck and just squish, 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 and it's over. And there's a lot of dead Wolverine laying on the field after this one. Michigan has no chance. They're off of Milton, their freshman quarterback. They're onto their backup. They don't know what's going on up there. I don't think Michigan has any chance. I know it's a rivalry, and I know this game can stay somewhat close at times. Not this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it is all Buckeyes in this one.
Yeah, the largest margin of victory in the series was Ohio State, 38-0 in a blowout on November 23rd, 1935. Yeah. So, this would be one of the bigger blowouts if that does happen. Yeah. and Jim Harbaugh is still 0-5 against Ohio State. And this is the biggest spread in the history of the rivalry.
Yeah.
So
it's that kind of year.
Yeah.
It's 2020.
I know. And there were kind of not rumors, but just probably wishful thinking of some other programs thinking that Michigan would just cancel the last game of the season. So
then
they
the
didn't
AD came out and was like mad that people would even suggest that. He's like, we want to play. Wow.
Yeah. That would just,
Careful what you wish for.
That would just, if Harbaugh knew he was on his way out, you know, if he just canceled just in spite, just that would be the ultimate petty move.
If Michigan did that though, and I don't think they would intentionally do it, but if they did, I mean, you're not just talking about hatred from people coming from Columbus.
Yeah.
This is college football wide to do something like that.
To do that to some of those guys that are looking to graduate and maybe not come back next year. Maybe they want to get their life started. Yeah. If they're not being drafted, or the guys that are being drafted to take that from them, you know, because those players want to go play. Anytime they can get, they want to go play. So I just thought it was funny that people were thinking Harbaugh could stick it to. one side
note I'm going to mention though is because I know everybody at Michigan is saying they need to fire Harbaugh. It's the same way you hear all the talk out in Texas about Tom Herman. Yeah. The reality is it's a COVID year, and listen, no matter how bad it's been up there, who are you going to replace him with?
Yeah.
And that's the same question I have for Texas fans. Who are you going to replace him with? I mean,
is Urban Meyer looking for?
Well, that's off. That's been now. It's
no, I know.
Like,
that's the joke.
Not,
That's a joke for every program. Urban Meyer is looking at real estate in Ann Arbor. Urban Meyer is looking for real estate in Austin.
I mean, the first time Urban Meyer's name was mentioned for Tech, I'm like, guys, this is not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not happening. So careful the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, remember Rich Rodriguez, remember Brady Hoke. It's not, you know.
But still, I mean, look at this year. I mean, it's. Yeah. They better fix it next year.
But it was only a few years ago that this game played in Columbus went into double overtime. First time the series ever went to overtime. It was a very close game. It was that, Michigan had a great team that year, and so I don't know. My opinion. Then we'll move on. My opinion with Michigan is the biggest problem they have is I know Milton's a tremendous athlete, and I know he's got a heck of an arm. He really does. He's not the type of quarterback that fits a Jim Harbaugh system.
Yeah,
he's not. I mean, for Jim Harbaugh's offense, they need a pocket passing quarterback who sits in the pocket, is not going to run. I mean, he has never had that since he's been at Michigan.
Yeah,
Jim Harbaugh has never had a Jim Harbaugh quarterback at Michigan, and that's what they need to quit worrying about the stars and going to get in a 5-star, and they just need to go find somebody who fits their system and then develop that player.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that yet. So anyway.
I'm taking Ohio State.
Okay. Akron is at Buffalo. Buffalo, a 32-point favorite. I'll take Buffalo.
Yeah.
Akron's not that good.
I know. Usually they have some players that, aren't really, they're the Ohio guys that maybe are 6'1" on the defensive line that just couldn't get into Ohio State. They've got the talent, they've got the speed, the power. They just don't have the size.
There's 3 levels of high school players in Ohio. You have the elites who end up at Ohio State. You have just below that who want to go to Ohio State but end up at Michigan State or Indiana or somewhere else. And then you have those guys just a little bit below that, and they end up at Ohio and Akron and Toledo and Buffalo or Bowling Green.
Like lifelong football players that just, I mean, they can put in a game for a half, but they just maybe don't have the depth, of those guys. But I just remember Oklahoma playing Akron a few years ago. I mean, it may have been a decade ago at this point. But they were decent. I mean, they had good offensive and defensive linemen, but they weren't big. I mean, they're not going to push you off the ball.
Sure.
But they were everywhere they needed to be, and for the first quarter or the first 2 quarters, they made it a game. So I don't know. Buffalo averaged the most points in FBS at 50.1 points per game over.
And also, let me just point this out too.
Yeah.
When it comes to MAC schools, when you're playing at that level, and this is the same for almost any group of 5 school.
Yeah.
players, you do have some elite guys who end up getting a chance to play in the NFL. But for the most part, most of these players are guys who know they're not going to play on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they play the game for the love of the game.
Yeah.
They play hard, and these aren't guys who are going to opt out, I'm going to sit out for the last 2 games. They're going to play their butts off right to the very end. And that's one of the great things I think about the Group of 5 schools is just that love of the game, and it's a different feel from the Power 5.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to take Akron. I think, maybe they can put enough together to score 15, 17 points. I don't know. 32 in this one. I don't know. I don't know enough about each team to really. I know that Buffalo averages a ton of points. Mm-hmm. But just with what I know historically about Akron, I'll take them to not even keep it close. They're going to lose, but just to keep it within the points. I'll take the points, yeah.
Okay. Coastal Carolina's a 13.5-point favorite at Troy. I don't know a lot about Troy, but at this point, after what Coastal Carolina did, winning that game against BYU, I don't think they have a letdown. I'll take them to cover 13.5.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina is 8-2 against the spread. And Troy just lost in a blowout to BYU and Appalachian State this season. So I've got Coastal Carolina rolling. I mean, they need 2 more wins for a perfect season, and I think they keep it going.
Texas, 30-point favorite at Kansas. Who'd Kansas play last? They kept it close, didn't they? Or maybe I'm thinking of a different game. I thought they kept it close against I forget who they played. Anyway, I should have known that going into this. But anyway,
I can't believe Texas is technically still ranked in the AP or the the coaches poll.
Texas the last few years has struggled with Kansas. I mean, this is a team that just seems to have Texas's number.
Kansas just lost 16-13 to Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going with the Jayhawks this week. I'm going to go with Kansas to keep it within 30. I don't think they win, but there's just certain teams that when you play them, you just struggle with them, and you shouldn't. And this is one of them.
I don't know. This is the worst. This is one of the worst Kansas teams I've seen in a long time. I don't know. I just don't know that they have anything in their really young core. Mm-hmm. I know that Texas has a lot of players that are starting to, like Joseph Osai just announced he's going to opt out for the last 2 games of the season. They've had other players that have done the same. I think, was it Caden Stearns maybe? Somebody else, somebody more high profile too. Just announced that they were going to sit out the last 2 games of the season, which just is crazy to me. I mean, just play them.
Just play, yeah.
What are you afraid of? You're going to go get drafted, and then you could get hurt, in training camp, and then you don't make a team. So
these guys need to enjoy the last
few
games they have in college, because college is such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And you don't get it back. And so, they just go play, if you love the game of football, go play it. Don't sit out. But
Kansas is 1-8 against the spread, with 7 losses of 30 points or more this year.
2-8, baby. 2-8.
I'm gonna take Texas.
Okay. Yeah, it might be a bad.
I just think Texas has too much talent.
Yeah.
For Kansas to even make it a game.
Okay. Cincinnati, 12.5-point favorite at Tulsa. I don't like picking against the Bearcats, but they don't cover 12.5. This game stays closer than that. I think that Cincinnati does win the game, but I like Tulsa's defense to be able to keep this close. So I will take Tulsa in the points.
Is Tulsa's quarterback back?
That's a good question. I don't know. You can tell I didn't check.
What's it?
Because at one point they were on their 3rd quarterback, but I think he had like a hip injury.
Zach Smith. Yeah. I think he is back, because I think he was playing in last week's game. I'm checking it real quick. Sorry. Yeah, he's
back.
He's back.
Okay. I feel even more confident with that pick now that knowing that he's back.
I'm taking Tulsa. Yeah, I'm going to take Tulsa. Maybe, I don't know, to win, but...
No, I don't think Tulsa wins, but I think it stays close. This could be a 1-point to 3-point game.
This is the, let's see. Cincinnati just had two, basically back-to-back bye weeks,
Yeah.
so they haven't played in a while. Tulsa's 6-1 against the spread. I think you should expect a close game here. 12.5 just seems like a lot.
Yeah, I feel like the spread should be around 8.5.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's, so, I mean, maybe it moves during the week, but yeah, at this point, this almost feels like a lock to me.
Yeah.
Taking Tulsa in the points in this.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsa could outright win. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying they will, but they could. I mean, I think that this could be a really close game.
Yep. Okay. Where are we at? North Carolina is at Miami. Miami is a 3.5-point favorite. Miami played Duke last week, and we apologize for us not picking that game. I didn't think they were playing. I don't know where that came about, that game. I was shocked. I was like, wait, Miami's playing? So, because I don't think they were even on the list to play.
Yeah.
I thought they were out until this week, but I guess they played. So, back to this, I don't know about this because my gut tells me North Carolina's going to win the game. I don't know why, but I think that this is a slip-up week for them. They've sat out for a while with their COVID issues, maybe a little rusty getting back in it. I'm going to take North Carolina.
Well, they won last year in a really tight game, 28-5. Miami will not play in the ACC championship game, but they're on track to play for a New Year's Six game.
Yeah.
I think Miami covers. I think this could be a 4-point game.
Okay. All right. Purdue is at Indiana. Indiana 11-point favorite. I'll take Indiana to cover that. I would take them probably all the way up to 17. I like Indiana. I like Jack Tuttle. I don't think they have much of a problem with Purdue. I think Purdue lost last week. I forget who it was to. Yeah, I just think it's a fairly easy win for Indiana.
Yeah, all 6 of Purdue's games have been decided by 10 points or fewer. So, I mean, 11, if it were at 10, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, but Purdue hasn't played the top 2 teams in the Big Ten, which is Ohio State and Indiana.
That's true.
Yeah.
Looking at what they did, where is this game? And we lock it in when we see it, when we make the list. It has jumped just a half a point. Mm-hmm. That's nothing to really scare me one way or the other. Purdue lost by 10 to Nebraska. They lost by 7 to Rutgers. Lost by 3 to Minnesota. Lost by 7 to Northwestern.
That was earlier on in the season, wasn't it? That was not.
It was about a month ago.
Oh, okay.
And then they beat Illinois. And then Indiana's had a bunch of close games too. I'm going to take Purdue on this. I don't like 11 for some reason. Okay. If it were 10, I would pick at 10. Actually, what did I say? It has...
Went up a half.
No, it went down.
Oh, okay.
It went down to 9.5. Sorry, I thought this was at 9. Yeah, I'm going to take Purdue.
Okay.
I know we don't like talking about where it shifts and anything because we film this on Sundays, sometimes Mondays, and mm-hmm. we lock it in wherever we see it. But yeah, I'll take Purdue.
Okay. Wisconsin is at Iowa. Iowa's a 1.5 favorite. Wisconsin's a joke. They're not what we thought. They won that first game of the season against Illinois big time, which Illinois had a lot of guys out. And we just thought Wisconsin was it, and they're not. They're just not what we thought they would be this year.
Yeah.
I don't even think they should be ranked in the top 25 in my opinion right now. Iowa goes away with this by at least 10, so I don't have a problem picking Iowa to cover a point.
Yeah, I think Iowa's the right pick here. Mm-hmm. Although Wisconsin has won 4 in a row in this series. I don't know. I just don't see Wisconsin with what Iowa's been able to do this year.
And with Iowa's defense.
Yeah, I just
Indiana held Wisconsin to 6. I mean, Iowa's comparable as far as defense.
Yeah, Wisconsin's just had so much COVID problems this year that I don't know. With how much they've stopped and started. Iowa just seems like the safe bet on this one.
Next one is LSU at Florida. Florida 24-point favorite. Man, I want to pick LSU in this, but man, LSU, I picked them last week against Alabama, and that was a dumb pick, clearly.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take Florida. Florida's not dominant like they need to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I'll take them to cover.
Florida hasn't covered the last 3 weeks, so that's what makes me kind of nervous about this one. This is really Florida's last test before the SEC championship game, and it's against LSU, whose defense has allowed a total of 103 points in losses to Alabama and Auburn. Man, I don't know. It makes me nervous that they haven't covered the last 3 weeks, but then again, you got to think they're going to cover at some point, and LSU just hasn't looked good at all, so.
And LSU just played Alabama. Now they play Florida. Florida then plays Alabama. So it's a comparison thing. Alabama goes out and wins big. So Florida, you think, is like, well, we need to win as big,
Well, or is this the same thing we were talking about Alabama? Like they've got, they're thinking about the SEC championship game and maybe knocking off the number 1 team.
Yeah.
Are they going to rest some players? Do they get up big and then in the second half bring Trask out?
The only thing is with that is Trask is still in the running for a Heisman.
Yeah,
I don't think he gets pulled, and I don't think the wide receivers
and with
get
Kyle
pulled.
Pitts being out, they're going to want to use him.
Yes, and so that's why I think they stay in it and they try to score as much as they can to try to get Trask that Heisman.
Yeah, I'll reluctantly take Florida, but if they don't cover, I get to come back and say I picked LSU.
You can blame me. Yeah, okay, blame me. USC,
we don't do that here. We don't change our picks. We take it on the backside and keep going.
USC is a 4-point favorite at UCLA. I love what UCLA is doing. UCLA gets the win here in the upset, so clearly I'm taking UCLA.
Yeah, USC still unbeaten, and in any other season that would be they'd be top 5,
top for playoffs.
Yeah,
another year. Yeah.
Both teams have split the last 2 meetings, and this one will be a close one, I think. I mean, just the way that UCLA has been trending, and they've covered every time as the underdog. So give me UCLA in this one.
Absolutely. Ole Miss is at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 15-point favorite. As much as my gut wants me to pick Ole Miss, I'm going to take Texas A&M.
Yeah, Ole Miss has averaged 44.7 points in their 3-game win streak. This could be a shootout. And the Aggies are trying to make a playoff case. So this is a tough one.
And to make a playoff case, they're not going to be in the SEC championship game, so they need to win and win big.
Yeah,
but you want to make a case.
This is tough. I know there's Aggie fans right now saying, no, it's not. Aggie fans love their football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this game has been postponed, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Postponed.
Okay, well.
I just saw that.
Okay, so I guess we're not picking this game. So let's move on.
Hey, it's the only one so far that's been postponed or canceled. So
it won't be the last.
I know, but
that's bad for Texas A&M.
But at this point in the week, usually you're starting to see 4 or 5 games postponed, and you go down the list and haven't really seen. I mean, that one and I think one other I've seen.
I think Texas A&M, as soon as another game gets canceled, they need to get on the phone, try to play somebody.
Yeah.
No matter who it is.
Though, is it them or is it Ole Miss that's
I know.
having to
assuming it's not Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They really need to get it. They got to get a fill-in game or something.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on then. Utah is at Colorado. Colorado is a 1.5 favorite. Of course, you've mentioned Utah is rebuilding. They're going through some growing pains right now and some.
Yeah, what'd they do this week? I thought, did they cover against Oregon State? They were up when I last left that game. I picked Oregon State, and they were favored. Utah was favored by 9.5.
Yeah, I took Oregon State as well. I didn't see what final what that was.
Yeah, that one ended real late. Oregon State covered 24-30.
Okay.
Utah won. So.
Okay. I still like Colorado in this at home.
Yeah, and Colorado's still unbeaten.
Yeah.
They're kind of saying, "Hey guys, don't forget about us."
Right.
I mean, the Pac-12 is not dead.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Man, it really is all on the Utah quarterback Sam Neuer and Jake Bentley, and just not making a mistake in the fourth quarter, because I think this comes down to the wire. Colorado, they've won 2 of the last 4 games by double digits. Oh man, this is tough because I was totally wrong on them this last week. I mean, even though Oregon State covered, I thought Oregon State would win the game.
I did too.
Oregon State's playing better. They're kind of the Arkansas of the Pac-12 at this point. Man, this one's tough. My gut is saying to go with Colorado, so I'm going to stick with Colorado.
All right. Got 2 left. San Diego State is at BYU. BYU is a 15-point favorite. Look, BYU might have lost to Coastal Carolina, but that game also proved that BYU was not a fluke despite the soft schedule. They are for real. They are a very good football team, regardless of the loss, and they are going to come out, and I think they win by 25 or more.
Yeah. Yeah. BYU definitely looks to bounce back after losing to Coastal Carolina, but they can cap off a 10-win season this week. San Diego State lost by 10 points to Colorado in its only game as an underdog this season. I think that Zach Wilson will want to come back out and have another Heisman-like performance, so give me BYU to take care of business in this one.
Okay, last game is Army-Navy.
Yeah.
What's the spread?
Bonus pick on this one. I locked it in at Navy favored by 6.5 points.
Ooh, Navy by 6.5. I got to take Army. Have to take Army 6.5. I kind of feel like Army might even win the game. Navy's been playing better. But I picked them a couple times. They didn't cover. But I don't think you can count out Army. And this game, it means so much for all of them on both sides. And I just feel like Army's got the better team this year. So I'll take Army.
Yeah, this one is a 2:00 game on CBS. Navy 3-6, Army 7-2. Navy's on a 4-game losing streak right now. And Army has won 4 out of the last 5. Army, they're not allowing many yards total. Navy's given up a lot of yards, but not really scoring as much, not really gaining as much. I mean, you look at their points scoring and giving up, and they're basically flip-flopped. Navy giving up more points than they're scoring, and Army scoring double the amount of points that they're giving up. So
Army controls the ball and takes time of possession away.
Yeah.
And so Navy's going to have very limited chances to capitalize. And if your offense hasn't been playing well, you don't get many opportunities. You might not get more than 10 points.
Okay, I was mistaken in the beginning. It's Army that is
4-game losing streak.
No. It's Army that is favored by 6.5.
Oh, Army's okay. That makes more sense. I was like, wow, Navy favored.
Yeah.
I'll still take Army. That's a touchdown.
But here, I'm going to take Army as well. I think, like you said, they control the ball really well. They're not giving up a lot of points this season. They're not giving up a lot of yards this season. Navy is. I know this is usually, a pretty big game. Doesn't Army own the series?
I mean, for the longest time, Navy was winning like year in, year out. And I think it's within the last 5 years, Army's kind of had their number.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because Army there for a long time was just, they struggled to get 1 or 2 wins every year.
Yeah.
And then they've just managed to turn it around. And so,
Yeah.
I like Army covering 6.5.
Yep.
Okay.
Same here.
All right. So that's it for Week 15 picks. And, it's a good thing for us. We have a few more weeks to go with picks.
Yeah.
And so
it feels like, and I know it is true. It feels like literally some of those conferences just started.
It feels like it. Pac-12,
and
they haven't played very much at all.
I think I saw Maryland. Has Maryland only had 1 home game this year?
Possibly.
If I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but I thought I saw that they've only played 1 home game, and I'm sorry to the Maryland fans for.
And Stanford has to finish their whole season on the road. Like they have to practice on the road, play on the road because Santa Clara has locked down and they're not allowed to have any sports.
Yeah.
So but Stanford got the win against Washington this past week.
Yeah.
That was a big win for them. That was a great win.
Yeah, Maryland. They've only played. What are they? They've only played 4 games.
Yeah.
And they, because they canceled the one with Ohio State, they canceled the one with Michigan State. They played Minnesota at home, and they've got at Michigan, and they've got Rutgers at home. So.
Yeah, and another thing too is a whole bunch of bowl games are starting to get canceled.
Man.
I mean, I think we have 7 or 8 right now.
Well, think of all the games in California, the bowl games in California.
Rose Bowl. Can you play the Rose Bowl? I don't know.
They'll pick another spot. I mean, they'll go to, Arizona, or they'll go somewhere.
Go down to Dallas or Arlington to Jerry's World and just,
Yeah.
Play multiple games there if you have to. But
there's enough pro stadiums all around, and especially now where they'll have, really diminished crowds.
Yeah.
You may see some soccer stadiums being.
And if you're not going to have crowds, there's no reason to play in huge stadiums.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you can go play anywhere.
Yeah.
Literally anywhere. I mean, and actually, if you're letting limited numbers of fans in anyway, I mean, look, I was a fan of the soccer stadiums for the XFL.
Yeah.
I thought it made the game so much more intimate and closer. And in a COVID year, it makes 100%. It makes total sense to play some of these bowl games in soccer stadiums. Yeah. So. We'll wait. I know a lot of them have just like the Sun Bowl. They just completely said, okay, we can't do it.
Well, it's like basketball. One of the tournament that's usually in Hawaii, I think, was in like Atlanta or something. Like, so they're making it work. And
the Maui Invitational.
Yeah.
I thought they played it there. Maybe they did. I don't know.
I saw that it was.
No, they did, because Hawaii has, of all the states, they have the lowest per capita rate of COVID right now. Because actually, this has nothing to do with sports, but I know Hawaii right now they're offering to pay money. They're trying to lure people who work from home to come to Hawaii and work remotely from Hawaii, and they're actually paying people, and they'll pay moving expenses and all that stuff. I saw it in the news because they have the lowest rate for COVID. So they're saying come here and be safe and work, and that's kind of their motto right now.
Yeah, so. You got the flight risk. So it was Asheville, North Carolina is where it was played.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew I saw it was somewhere on the East Coast. But, with basketball doing it, that football is going to be right there and doing the same thing. If they can move it somewhere, there's just too much money generated not to play these games. And if you can find it, do it.
To me, and I think this should have been a decision that was made a long time ago, the bubble worked for the NBA.
Yeah.
The playoffs, I think the playoffs and the national championship could have been in a bubble.
Yeah.
You could have brought the 4 teams in.
Well, in Sweet 16 or the March Madness, they're saying is going to be in one location this year.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense because they had to cancel it last year. But think about if you had the 4 teams, you bring them to one stadium, put them in one hotel, and you lock them down. Yeah. Test everybody, and then on the night of the semifinals, you play a game at 1, you play a game at 6, and you keep them. The 2 winning teams stay there, and they need to make sure
they need to make sure there's at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, but before the playoffs begin, so that these players can get back. If they go off and party and get tested positive, that's on them within that 3 weeks. But they have 3 weeks to be able to quarantine and not do anything stupid, and then they get to go play in the playoffs. And if they do that, that's their, you know.
But they won't have that. They'll have a week and a half because the selection will happen on the 20th, and then they play the 31st.
Well,
so they have 11 days.
They should have given it 2 weeks.
Yeah, but they had to extend the season and the conference championship games to be able to get it in.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But you're right. I think they should have pushed the playoffs and the national championship a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And quit worrying about what the NFL's doing and just, you know, I agree. And I think they should have played it in a bubble. And Dallas, Texas, at Jerry's World would have been a great place to have it. You know,
practice in
indoor.
Frisco, like at the Star, and
yeah, have a hotel locked down for just the teams.
And,
yeah. But anyway, okay, that's it for Week 15. Again, you know, Shaun's dedicating this to his mother-in-law,
Rhonda Ward. Yep.
So with that said, please like the video if you enjoy this. Please comment and always subscribe if you haven't subscribed. You know, we'd like to hit 6,000 subscribers before the end of the season. That'd kind of be a nice goal. So I know like 80% of the people who watch are not subscribers. So go hit that subscribe button and quit being mean. Quit being mean. So anyway,
and be safe out there.
Yeah, be safe. And that's it for this week, and we will see you next week. Take care.